All right, it is 7:07. I would like to call the meeting to order and thank everybody for coming. I am Deb Travis, the chair of the Bronx Community Board 8 Parks and Recreation Committee. I have a few housekeeping items for discussion. As a community board committee, we loosely follow Robert's Rules of Order. We will be following the agenda that was previously distributed. If you're here, there's some right still up front. This list gives you kind of the order of what we'll be discussing. If we open a topic to general discussion, we ask that if you would like to speak, you raise your hand and I will call on you. Our goal is to have a good, robust discussion. However, if a lot of people want to speak on a single topic, you may only get to speak once. So you'll want to just make sure to make it count. If you're not speaking, we ask, and you're online, we ask that you keep yourself muted to prevent background noise from interrupting other people. If you're on Zoom and you want to raise your hand, you will select reactions at the bottom of your screen. If you're on the phone, it's *6 to mute and unmute, and *9 to raise your hand. So now I'm going to do roll call real quick. Bob Bender.
Here.
Carol Blake. Absent. Miriam Filer.
Here.
And I'm Deb Travis. Any other community board members on the call? I didn't see anybody else. A minute, okay. None. And then are there any representatives from electeds on the call?
Yeah.
Okay, none. All right, next I would like to approve the minutes of the March 25th, 2026 Parks Committee meeting, which were distributed to committee members and the public ahead of the meeting. Does anybody on the committee have any changes?
No.
All right, if there are no objections, I move to approve the minutes by unanimous consent. All right, the minutes of March 26, 2026 committee meeting have been unanimously approved. I have two quick items. I know we have a packed agenda, so I'll just say them real fast. First one is Fort Independence Park green infrastructure. On April 15th, the Environment and Sanitation Committee had a presentation where they sought community feedback on green infrastructure in Fort Independence Park in Kingsbridge Heights. It's kind of on the walkway near the amalgamated end of the park. The project is in very early stages. There is no funding for the work itself at this time. The expectation is that they will complete their feasibility study and concept design by June of 2026.
Press,
and then
press the one, no, stay there. Press the button with the key. The one that has the key.
I think you might want to just
Let me move down there in case somebody else comes.
You're okay. Did we let them in?
Yes.
You are my right-hand man, so so with the Fort Independence Park green infrastructure, we the concept designed by June 2026, and then this will enable them to look for sources of funding. All right. Right.
Sir, sign in, please.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, could you sign in?
Yeah, for the folks who just attended, just came in, there is a sheet passing around for attendance. So and then finally, reimagining the enslaved African burial ground in Van Cortlandt Park. Van Cortlandt Park Alliance led a moderated panel last night at Lincoln College. It was an opportunity to meet the 3 design firms who are making conceptual designs for a memorial at or around the African burial ground in Van Cortlandt Park. Their designs will be presented to the public at the Juneteenth celebration in Van Cortlandt Park. So sign up at vancortlandt.org if you want to be on the mailing list and get updates about that project, which is very exciting. The community board has been very supportive of it for a long time. So next up on the agenda, I just want to make sure everybody's in. I'm sorry, I'm going to continue with the agenda. Is the discussion with the New York City Parks and Recreation Department about the Mashaloot Golf Course. They have requested comments on the RFP. And we have Alexander Hahn and Tony Macari and Luigi Almazar who will be presenting. Alex, who's going to be actually speaking to this? And do you have a presentation, or do you just want to talk about it?
It's really just thank you, Deb, and appreciate the Parks Committee of CBA for having us, and we greatly appreciate your partnership and any feedback you have for the upcoming RFP. I do want to introduce my some of our other colleagues. Our Bronx Commissioner Aponte is also on this call. The administrator for Van Cortlandt Park, Stephanie Ehrlich, is also here, and Tony McCary, our Director of Concessions, Architecture and Development. He's also a registered architect. And really an expert on this, so he may be able to answer some of the more technical questions. And then Luigi Almanzar, our project manager, he is our main point of contact, and we'll be drafting and issuing this RFP based on some of the feedback you give here today. So we issued our initial notice to you, and also Alex Hahn, Chief of Concessions, sorry, for Parks. And we're seeking any feedback you have for this upcoming RFP. And just a reminder that the current license agreement is a short term, and that was really to allow the existing operation of the golf course to continue while the city, in partnership with DEP and with DDC, who's doing the overall construction management for the project, to complete the water filtration plant along with the driving range, which is a Parks concession. And so we believe that the driving range will be completed, later this year. And then during this time, we will be conducting an RFP seeking an operator, and they would take over management, whoever the successful proposer might be, in 2027. And the date is somewhere around July of 2027 is when the new license term will kick in. It's going to be a relatively long term, which is typical of our other courses. We're looking, up to 20 years, but we'll make that determination based on some of the capital requirements. So that's just an intro. If anybody has questions or want to discuss, happy to. Also wanted to turn it over to our Commissioner Ponte in case anything she wanted to add here. Thanks.
Commissioner Ponte, is there anything you'd like to say?
No, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. And I think, Alex summed it up well, and we look forward to the feedback so we can keep the conversation going.
Yeah, thank you. So for folks who may not be familiar with concessions in the parks, there are two golf courses, as you do know, in Van Cortlandt Park. There's the Van Cortlandt Park Golf Course, and there's the Mosholu Golf Course, which has been operated by First Tee for many years. They had a concession agreement, I believe it was a 20-year agreement, which most of it was there was construction happening because the water filtration plant was being built in the middle of their golf course that they had a contract for most of their contractual period. Recently, the Parks Department did a 3-year extension to allow the work to complete so that a new vendor, if a new vendor were to take over that concession agreement, they wouldn't be doing it in the middle of towards the end of a big construction project. The hope is that they would be receiving this parcel to operate without any new construction happening. So the way these concessions work is that they're generally like this one. This is a 20-year term, and it has the company that whoever people give their RFPs, their requests for proposal. This is a request for proposal. People give their proposals of the programming that they would bring to it, what capacity they have, etc. So we're here to provide feedback to Alex and his team. They're the concessions team at Parks. For things where we think that it could be done better. So I can kick it off with one of the pieces. I've got a couple of questions, Alex, for you and for your team. Karen, I see your hand. I'll get around to you once we've finished with questions from the committee. What is the golf course work itself complete, Alex? I know that we were still, when last we met, there was still the First Tee itself was not complete.
So the golf course itself is also not complete, but it is very close to completion and significantly closer. There is a temporary tee box, but Tony, can you speak to a little bit more about the timeline on completion?
Sure. We're about 90% done with that first hole. It was sodded last fall. It's has this spring to grow in. There's just a little bit more of the cart path and towards the existing green, a little bit of landscaping left to do, and some fencing work. There's a long fence along the cart path to protect golfers who are returning. So that has to be installed this summer. So that's it. We're really probably weeks away from completing that hole.
So has the facility been formally handed over to Parks? It was a DEP project originally.
Correct. So DDC is managing the construction. They're imminently close to getting their C of O, at least TCO. They're working on punch list items at this point, so the contract is pretty much substantially complete. They will be. We anticipate they turn it over formally to us sometime this summer. Once the punch list work is done, and they're ready to formally turn it over. There's just some landscaping left to do in their contract around the parking lot and some of the exterior work, but the interior is virtually done.
And then when do we expect that the driving range itself, and I guess honestly the first tee will move into the new building?
Well, so the expectation at this point is First Tee will be maintaining that whole structure once it's turned over in the summertime. And
Okay.
the expectation is that because the current agreement is expiring, the building will be substantially complete in terms of the city's share of the work, but there will be some necessary fit out items like, you know, what you would find in the trimmings of a clubhouse, built out snack bar facility. What we're turning over to them is basically a core and shell with these spaces, but not, you know, with furniture, fixtures, and equipment. That'll all need to be done as part of the new license term for this RFP.
Okay. So the furniture, fixtures, and equipment, that's not going to be ready then. Like that, we shouldn't expect that stuff will be complete until July 2025 and after, like when the new concessionaire takes over, or First Tee or whomever. But at the beginning of the new concession agreement.
That's correct. I mean, depending on how the results of this RFP, and we hope to get, you know, a good number of responses. It's always good to have options. We will coordinate with First Tee, and you know, if they're the winning proposer, then that makes the coordination easy. But if they're not, and there's someone else, then we would coordinate that transition process so that the facility can at least start in terms of build out in July of next year, if not even earlier.
Okay. And so then would it be, so there's a temporary golf house where they currently are. So it sounds like it would be fair to say that they will continue to operate out of that until the furniture and everything else is resolved, like until the new concession contract is resolved and we know if they are able to move into the new facility, etc.
Yes, they've already started actually. There's a temporary clubhouse which they've been using for a number of years during the construction project. And they've actually started moving some of their programming into a temporary trailer outside of that clubhouse at this point. And there is space within that temporary clubhouse now for the park staff, which was always envisioned to take over, to start taking over that facility. So it'll be done in phases. But the expectation is for, you know, as part of this new license term, the incoming concessionaire, whoever the winning proposer is, would be fully moving in, and Parks would be fully taking over the temporary clubhouse after.
Okay. So the moat that's you know part of this new building. For the folks in the room who may not know what the moat is, the driving range is actually sitting on top of the filtration plant, and that there will be a circulating moat of water that will be between the tee boxes and the greens. There was some discussion about who's going to maintain that. It's groundwater that's coming up from the ground itself naturally. Has there been an MOU or any determination of whether that was going to be part of the concession agreement? You know, what's the status of that?
There is an existing MOU with DEP, and you know, this is a pretty interesting project, as you mentioned. The green for the driving range actually sits on top of a water filtration plant. which makes it, I think Tony can confirm or not, like one of the largest green roofs in the country, and which is a really nice thing to be able to have, especially in the Bronx as well, and in New York City. There is a plan, and Tony can speak more to it, but there's a lot of shared infrastructure. So the irrigation equipment for the golf course is also shared with the DEP filtration plant. Tony can speak to the future agreements we may have with DEP, because DDC would be out of it, essentially once the construction was done, and DEP would manage their spaces, parks and our concessionaire would manage our spaces. And I believe, the expectation is as part of the new RFP, the concessionaire will be managing that moat. But Tony, can you talk to some of the other spaces or clarify anything I might have said? Thanks.
Sure. The good news is the wetland cells, which you're calling the moat, is actually functioning right now. It is integrated with the irrigation system. So that was kind of a big milestone that we put the two systems kind of together. It worked. So there was a little relief at that point. There is a pump inside the new clubhouse that would be maintained by our concessionaire. It is connected to the irrigation system, so it's not really that unusual that a concessionaire operates the irrigation pump. So this operates very similar to some of our replenishing ponds. So it's really not, it's mostly a passive system, but it is functioning as a river of sorts that connects to the irrigation system. And what that does is it collects all the stormwater from one of the nation's largest roof. I think it was at one point. I think somebody passed us, but it collects the stormwater off of there. It goes into the wetland cells and then connects to the irrigation system. So yeah, we have a deal with DEP. Understood. Basically things.
That's as well as on.
Things below surface are their responsibility, where it daylights pretty much becomes the concessionaire's obligation to maintain. But we really don't anticipate much needing to happen with the cells themselves, other than some debris removal and occasional invasive species of plants removal, that kind of thing.
Okay. And then one of the concerns with the deck that goes to the tee boxes and is part of the driving range is that there wasn't any way to fence it off at night or when it wasn't being staffed after hours. Has there been any discussion about that, and is adding those features part of going to be part of the concession? Who's going to be responsible for that? That security.
Tony?
Yeah, sure. So yes, we're making security part of the obligation. The licensee is part of this. We also are have put in one of the capital items is to install fencing along Jerome Avenue. The original plan was to keep it open and integrate, but it's probably not the best idea for security. And we're keeping the construction fence up as long as we can until DDC. It'll be the last thing DDC does. And we've actually we're working with them on kind of an interim plan as well to make sure that the site is secured until we do have that new concessionaire in place.
Okay. And then, so one of the pieces of feedback we gave you for the Van Cortlandt golf course, I think still holds with this one, which is the fence in general around the golf course, both golf courses, is not in great shape. And I would put forward that I think it would be good to reconsider where it's necessary at all. And then, it's kind of a reconsider, reduce, and repair or replace the fencing, and that should be part of the new concession agreement. I mean, luckily there's nothing in this golf course like the Birding Bridge and these kind of other big capital projects that are part of Van Cortlandt Golf. But would you guys agree that the fencing is something that they should be paying attention to? And the other thing also we brought up with Van Cortlandt Golf Course, which is worth saying here, I think, is the electrifying golf carts. I think you talked about that yourselves as one of the kind of common requests that you put in these concession agreements. Is that also part of this one?
They are already electrified. This concession already
Oh,
has
nice.
all
Okay.
electric carts, so that will
Oh, nice.
stay. And that's the plan in the new building. So when the carts move to the new building, it's set up to charge the carts. So yes, that's already done.
And then was there any conversation around the Audubon Cooperative Sanctuary Program certification? We brought that up with the Van Cortlandt Golf course in terms of just looking into the viability of it, the feasibility of it. Have you had a chance to do that? I know some city golf courses are in that program, have that certification. Is it something that's appropriate within Van Cortlandt Park?
Sure, I think we did. Luigi, correct me if I think we do have our language in there that we view favorably any Audubon certification, and we certainly want them to be sensitive of all the wetlands that surround the golf course, and we've coordinated with our NRG to make sure that this is done the right way.
And then when we talked about one last thing, when we talked about Van Cortlandt Golf, Alex brought up non-golf events. Is that something that you're thinking about for as appropriate for this golf course, or this one seems much more programmed to me? So
Yeah, I think what our view and I think our vision for this course and is if there are events that take place on the golf course, they should be golf related. The clubhouse is where you can have other events, like birthday parties, anniversaries, outings, for companies who want to play golf and have some, a bite to eat after. So there's more flexibility. And I think that, having a more controlled location like inside the clubhouse for these events is more appropriate. And that allows the golf course itself to be maintained properly. Without having an unintended number of people gathering along the course.
right, and it's a much smaller course. It's half the size of the Van Cortlandt.
Right.
Worth noting. Is there anybody on the committee with any questions, Bob?
Yeah. Excuse me, I have two questions. Did I understand that the 20-year term for the concession is not fixed? And if that's the case, what are the variables on the length of the concession?
The biggest variable, Bob, and that's a great question, is what are the capital needs and what we think a potential investment might need to be from a private operator. Obviously, these are businesses and they want to recoup their investment. And so typically when you're looking at a large facility like a golf course, you're talking about over 100 acres of city-owned property. And were it not for a concessionaire, that would mean that the city and the parks department would have to rely on our resources to maintain it. So we need to think about not just the capital investment, but also the maintenance of this type of equipment. There's irrigation equipment, and there's a life to that. You can upgrade it and repair it, but at some point during the term, portions, if not the whole irrigation system, will need to be replaced. And there are maintenance costs to keeping that irrigation system running. So that is a big piece of it. So and then the clubhouse, as I mentioned, is a significant personal investment. So we've built, the city has invested, a lot of money to build the new clubhouse, and it's going to have a lot of great technology to be able to house and to charge the golf carts, which are all electric. I think those are all great things to have. But the fit out of the facility, putting in a kitchen, these are not things that city contractors have the expertise, and it's not always appropriate to use taxpayer money to build those types of facilities out. And we would rely on our concessionaire to also make that investment in addition to normal golf operations. So we're looking at anywhere between 15 and 20 years. 20 is the maximum, Bob, that we can do through a concession process. Anything longer than that would require additional approvals from the city's franchise and concession review committee. And the law department would need to be consulted for things like that.
So for a capital project like replacing the irrigation system, would that be the Parks Department's responsibility or the concessionaire's?
That is the concessionaire's responsibility to maintain, repair, and replace. Yeah.
Okay. And my other question was, will there be any sort of outreach program for the community, like let's say youth programs, bringing young people in,
yes,
to play golf, teaching them golf, or possibly people with some disabilities to help them. Is that something that's part of the concession?
So it actually is, and you know, one thing that many people don't know, but we're trying to develop this program a lot more, and I think you might see something formal in the next year. Is there, you know, there are high schools affiliated with each of our golf courses. These are public high schools in the community, and we'd like to work in the future to set up, you know, this sort of citywide tournament where each golf course is represented by a certain team, and they would be a team of students from local schools. So, in addition to that, there is, you know, our golf courses have junior academies and golf instruction as all part of it through their pro shops.
Okay, thank you.
Would you, Alex, would you consider, what about adult education? I mean, a lot of people's families, they never grew up playing golf. You know, the youth programs are not available to them. It seems like it's a gap where the assumption is either you already know how to play, or maybe there's these opportunities through like First Tee with as in the youth programs. Is there an opportunity also for a community adult education?
We can absolutely do that and look into that, and I don't see any issues why we couldn't, you know, request for that, for more you know, an instruction that spans, you know, all age groups. While it's true that many of our golf courses focus on the kids because what they want to do is engage kids at a younger age and make this a lifelong sport. But you're right, you know, there should also be opportunities for folks who didn't, you know, get to take advantage of that, but they want to pick up on that game now, because it is a, you know, a really good activity and it allows you to be outside a little bit more while doing something more interesting. So
Yeah.
yes, we will add some language about that. And if you have anything more specific in mind, you know, please let us know. But I think, you know, our RFPs don't really get specific. We just introduce a general idea, and then we let the proposers come back to us, you know, with their, you know, with how they would approach, you know, golf lessons or camps for, you know, youths and for adults.
And
Yeah, because I think affordability is already, the golf courses do a pretty good job of being affordable in terms of tee times and tee costs, but that the equipment too would be the other piece where I know some golf courses in other states, they have used equipment that you can purchase for low fees, just to make it like to lower the bar to actually participating in golf.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
both. Yeah, I mean, I think Deb, that's a great idea. There can be both, you know, purchase and rental options, for folks who, you know, may not even, you know, even if they could buy something for cheaper, they may not have the space, you know, or the wherewithal to take it, you know, with them back and forth. So
Right.
certainly something we can add, you know, language that sports equipment would be available for sale and for rental for folks who go there.
No problem. Miriam, anything? Bob, do you have anything else?
No.
I'll start with Karen. You had a question?
Yes. So who takes care of the outside on Jerome Avenue?
So if it depends where along the avenue, but you know, if the golf course is along the avenue, the golf course is responsible for keeping the sidewalk clean of litter and things like that. But they're not responsible for major capital improvements. So like if there's no sidewalk, they wouldn't be responsible for constructing a new one, but they would be responsible for making sure that the sidewalk is safe and it's clean for people that are walking along it.
They're not doing it now, but okay. And I don't know if the moat things are also taking care of the groundwater that the filtration plant has over by the entrance to the filtration plant, like on the side there next to the wetland, the actual wetland. Who's taking
Tony,
care of that?
Tony, I'm not
So,
familiar with that. Yeah.
so I think you're talking about the DEP area, so that I'm not sure specifically where, you know, you're
It's on the road
Probably,
going
yeah.
inside to the reservoir. When you're going in, it's on the right.
Mhm. Okay, so yeah, I'm not 100% sure if that's connected to the same system or if that's just connected to the city sewer. But it was all, you know, the DEP project was the first phase. And I know that all of the stormwater management for the entire site, including the DEP portion, was integrated, but I'm not 100% sure if that connects to the wetland cells. I don't believe it does. I think it's a separate.
So who, the
drainage
question
system.
then is. who takes
DEP.
care?
That's the DEP's
Okay,
portion of the site.
okay. That's part of your memorandum?
That's part of the original different MOU, but yes, that portion
Okay.
of the site has been permanently alienated for DEP.
Okay. Thank you.
Tony, is it possible for us to get a copy of the MOU just so we can see it?
Sure, absolutely.
That'd
Two MOUs.
There's the MOU for the wetlands area and then the MOU for the moat, the wetland cells, which is probably the better read.
We can follow up with you on that, Deb, and send you
Okay,
copies
that'd be
no
great.
problem. Yep.
All right, I don't see any other hands. Any questions in the room? All right. So I think as far as next steps for us, we'll do what we did with the Van Cortlandt Golf Course, which is we'll send you a letter with just kind of summarizing what we've discussed tonight, and we'll just get it to you before the deadline, and I'll send a draft out to the committee. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you
So
so
I want
much.
to thank you both, all three of you, for coming on tonight. I know it's late, so I appreciate you coming and answering all these questions, because there've been a lot of just stuff that were kind of lingering last minute questions from this, and I can't wait until this golf course actually is fully open and we can go enjoy a drink at the driving range.
Oh, it's the drink, not the golf, right?
Hey, we're not going to drink out of the wetland cell though. I don't know how to play golf, so all I can do is drink at the wetland cell. So I have to take a lesson. Yeah. So thank you so much. It's good to
Thank
see
you.
you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
All right, so next up is New York City Department of Parks and Recreation, the Van Cortlandt Stadium cell. Catherine, this is I'm deferring to you. Who should be speaking? Who's going to make a presentation?
Good
So
evening.
Commissioner Ponce is going to share a few a few words, and then
Right.
Melissa will present.
Great. Commissioner, can you hear? You're unmuted.
Good evening, everyone. Again, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I think
Now you're frozen.
it's my connection. It's pretty bad. So good evening, everyone. Jasenia. Let me take off this Wi-Fi. Hold on. Is this better?
When you guys try to speak.
Yeah.
Is my connection better for everyone?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So good
And for
evening,
the folks
everyone.
Commissioner, one sec. For the folks in the room who are recording, we're actually recording this, so you'll be able to find it on YouTube first thing tomorrow. So yeah. Thank you. All right, Commissioner, all yours.
Sure. Jasenia Ponte, your Bronx Borough Commissioner here. We appreciate the opportunity to meet with you and present the findings of the planning study for the Van Cortlandt Park Stadium and the surrounding facilities. Tonight, we want to start by grounding the discussion in the findings of the study and the follow-up investigations. Those efforts led to a clear and difficult conclusion. The stadium building has deteriorated beyond repair. At this point, the question is not if.
So you're still breaking up, unfortunately.
Tonight, we're here to listen and better understand the community's priorities. What was the last thing you heard? Sorry.
Commissioner, it might be better if you turn off
The
your
last
video.
thing
Is
was
this better?
that,
Mhm.
yeah,
Let me turn off my video.
Is
Let's
that-
see if I turn this off.
maybe
Is
it's
this better?
I think so.
Yeah, try to get past the unfortunately part, and we'll see if we can hear you all the way through.
All right. So I'll start by, tonight we want to start by grounding the discussion in the findings of the study and the follow-up investigations. Those efforts led to a clear and difficult conclusion. The stadium building has deteriorated beyond repair and will ultimately need to be demolished. At this point, the question is not if, but when. Tonight, we're here to listen and better understand your priorities. as a community and how we evaluate temporary options. These could include removing the existing structure and installing simpler amenities like metal benches or handball courts, or potentially constructing new handball courts in another area before demolition occurs. We also want to underscore the current safety conditions. The building's deterioration is significant, and measures like the netting are not optional. They are necessary to keep the handball courts open. Without those protections in place, the courts would have to be closed entirely. Our goal tonight is to share information, hear your perspectives, and begin shaping a path forward together that reflects both the realities we're facing and the needs of the community. So at this point, I would like Marlissa to give the presentation. And
hi, everyone. I hope you can see and hear me. So my name is Marlisa Wise. I work with Parks Capital Division. I'm a director of architecture. So I was involved in the CPSD process and want to give a recap of that for anyone who was not aware of it while it was going on, and then share what we found as a result. Ooh, it's saying that sharing is not turned on. Could someone who's...
Yep, I can fix that.
Awesome, thank you.
There you go. Oof. Cool.
Okay.
Oh,
I think you should be able to see it now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So we want to recap the master planning study for the Van Cortlandt Park Stadium building. We were not just looking at the building, we were also looking at the surrounding area and recreation facilities. So this CPSD, the acronym is Capital Project Scope Development, worked through a number of phases to try and understand the physical conditions of the building and also community input. So in the beginning, we were looking at the overall site to understand that the stadium building sits, right along Broadway and serves the whole community, including a number of large institutional stakeholders, colleges who use the fields. The stadium building is also, in close proximity to the pool. We have the Van Cortlandt House Museum, Old Putnam Trail, the parade grounds, the golf course we were just discussing. There's a wide range of amenities here in Van Cortlandt Park. We looked into the archaeology and history of the site. It was, as you can see in the upper right, infilled with trash. It was originally a very, very swampy area. You can see on the image on the upper left how the river actually moved through, and there was kind of swamp all around it. And that red, if you can see my little hand here, that's the location of the stadium building. So it was filled in, and the building was built right there. The surrounding area, we were looking at all of the different components. We have almost 21 acres here, over 900,000 square feet. Roughly 40% is sports fields, 23% of programmed outdoor spaces, like the playgrounds, multi-purpose play area, skate park. Then we have about a quarter is unprogrammed green space where you can walk and run. We have the pathways throughout, and then we have the building footprint, which is only 2% of this whole area. And you can see some photos of the existing conditions at the playground, looking towards the stadium building and looking across the stadium bleachers. So the existing site has a lot of constraints built into it. We have existing beautiful old trees that we would want to preserve, and any work would need to take those into account. The site permeability, we want to make sure we're not putting down so much pavement that the site doesn't drain well. We want to make sure that we're capturing stormwater. We also have some steep slopes where there's natural runoff into Tibbetts Brook. So master plan needs to take into account all of that topography and improvement of the site drainage. We also knew that any work would have to likely deal with contaminated soils, which is extremely common in New York City. So that was something we wanted to take into consideration. I'm going to summarize the kind of key takeaways and walk you through how we came to some of these conclusions. So as the Commissioner Ponte said, the building is in a significant state of disrepair. It's been closed to the public for a very long time. The current building foundation is on a shallow foundation, which is not what any architect or engineer would design today for this kind of swampy, trash-filled soil. The foundation is really not appropriate for the soil that the building sits on. The mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems within the building are either gone or not operational. Any work in the stadium building would require completely new mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems. There's a rat infestation, which is unpleasant, but sizable. We found asbestos, lead, mold, PCBs, all through the interior of the stadium building. So it will stay closed to the public to protect anyone from exposure to that. Park staff has had a lot of guidance on the protective equipment for any staff that have to go into the building. So we're working very closely with experts in that to make sure that we're protecting any staff that go in or out of the building and minimizing that. The footprint is only 14,000 square feet. As I said, it's 2% of the site, so it may not, even if it were kind of redeveloped, it might not serve the needs that we've heard from the community. The building is also not compliant with energy codes or building codes. So when we started to look at the existing drainage system, we found flooding and ponding. The playground is at a low point, and so there's a special amount of ponding there. There's not a built-in drainage system in the baseball fields. So we also looked at all of the structural conditions of the stadium building. Some of these are conditions you may be familiar with. You've seen some of the cracking in the bleachers. You can see, conditions around the handrails. But we also wanted to share some of the images of what we're seeing on the inside of the building. The concrete is severely deteriorated, and you can see that the structural steel reinforcing is exposed and corroded. So it is in very poor structural condition. Water is basically moving through the concrete, rusting the steel that's in there and causing the concrete to fall and deteriorate. This image, we wanted to share that it shows all of the locations of the kind of worst structural issues. So here, if you can imagine, these are the towers that face out towards Broadway. These are all the stadium seating. Each of these areas in red represents the area of severe structural deterioration. And if you're looking down at the bottom, this is a plan view, right? If we were up looking down at the whole stadium building from above, you can see where each of the bleacher seats is most deteriorated. So as long as the stadium building is standing, we will need to do kind of constant inspections and maintenance to make sure that if deterioration starts to go faster, we are able to close the area and protect people from being on the building. So the concrete will continue to expand and crack the more time passes and the more water goes through. So we have irreparable structural issues. We also have kind of conflict in the location of the existing fields and the desire to expand them to NCAA dimensions. We would need to move the building location to be able to enlarge those fields and have NCAA compliant sizes. So while there's this bad news about the stadium building, there's also the potential that relocating a building, or at first just removing, excuse me, that building would down the line allow the agency to consider how to get regulation size fields. We also were looking underground. As I mentioned, any work here would need to be aware of contaminated soils. We did not find contaminated soils anywhere near the top levels. It was only after we were down 10 feet that we found contaminated soils. So it would be an issue for a new building with really deep foundations, but there's no kind of concern of contaminated soil exposure. The MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, as I mentioned, very, very poor condition, would need to be fully replaced. Another dimension of that is that as building codes and energy codes become stricter, we have higher sustainability requirements. And so a project at this building would have to meet LEED Gold, which is the highest standard of sustainable building, and it can drive costs up. So that's something we should just be aware of. So when we found all of this information about the structural conditions, we asked the consultant, what can we do right away? What needs to be done right away? And they developed this engineered netting, which goes across the area of the concrete spalls and the expansion in the concrete. As I said, the water causing it to expand, causing it to spall, and pieces to fall. We put the engineered netting across that area so that if any pieces start to fall, they don't fall on people playing handball. If the nets are removed, we would have to close the handball courts. That was the first recommendation of the consultant engineers, was close them completely. He said that these are too important. What else can we do? So this was the best way that we were able to preserve everyone's access to the handball courts while also keeping everyone safe. Oh. Yes, sorry, that's my 7-year-old. So we found all this information about the building, but we wanted to hear what do people want more? What do they love about Portland Park now? What do they want more of in the future? We had a number of public events. We had in November of 24, we had a kind of big online meeting, which was really well attended. It was great. And we also set up an online survey, which I hope some people here were able to participate in. We had it open for a month in October and November. So we were able to get input from over 1,000 people, which was wonderful. It really shows how important this is to the whole community. We wanted to just share some of the information so you understand like who we were hearing from. About half of the people go there just to use the recreational space, and about half of the people were residents, work nearby, go to school nearby, and about half are there every week. So we have really people who are heavy users, regular users of the park. Walking, jogging, and handball is what we heard people love the most. We also heard that the stadium needed improvement, the building itself. and that people want to keep some of that historic character. So we heard that people see it as a special building, but also see that it needs improvement. We heard a lot of interest in outdoor sports, right? For the existing activities, primarily walking, jogging, handball, track and field, baseball, and soccer for the outdoor sports. And when we asked what would people like to have more of, we heard bathrooms, seating, and those are some of the things that we would want to build into a master plan for the site. And I think that's also reflected down here, right? That we had these types of responses, lack of restrooms, wanting to have more light. So our consultant team heard all of this information, online, in person, on the surveys, and they tried to bring it together to say, what are the programs that would be best here? And so they broke it into kind of outdoor activities and indoor. Some of that indoor activity being support for the sports teams and activities, things like locker rooms, equipment storage, first aid room. We also heard that people would like indoor activity, indoor fitness. And so they looked at what would be possible in a membership building, like a rec center, or a non-membership building, more like more of a community center. And so they were looking at both of those options. We asked the consultant, and maybe I could have mentioned this a little earlier, we asked the consultant team to look at 3 main options, one of which was how to keep and preserve and restore the existing building, which unfortunately is not possible. The other 2 options were a membership model, new building, like I mentioned, like a rec center, or a non-membership model, like a community center. So they started to break out the different programs and see what would fit in different approaches. So all of these things down here with the red asterisks, that's what we would only really have in a membership building. They looked at how much space we would need for all of these things. So option 1 of the restored existing building would not fit the things that we were hearing people wanted. And so that 14,000 square foot building footprint wouldn't hold the things that people are saying they want. With all of the, well, then take that to another room, please. Yep. My apologies. For the non-membership program, we would need about 22,000 square feet to fit everything that we were hearing people ask for, and about 44,000 square feet if we had all of those membership activities too. So it's a big increase. So just to summarize, I'm going to pull it all together. This would be the reconstruction, right? And that's what keeps us locked into fields that can't be made NCAA sized. A second option being that non-membership model. And here we directed the team to really look at pulling it towards Broadway and being as reminiscent of the existing building as possible. So like using similar materials and trying to really recall the historic building. The third option that they looked at for that membership model, it would be a much bigger building. They looked at pulling it into the park and kind of distributing the different sports fields around it so that the building is more like a hub that supports all those different activities. So they have different strengths. The larger building at almost twice the size would be much more costly. And I think we're gonna in just a moment talk about how the agency is trying to move forward to get funding for this type of project. But just putting it out there that, of course, when we're looking at almost twice the size, it's a much larger cost. So at this time, the agency is advocating for the funding. We don't have funding for this project. We did this master planning process so that we could know what was possible and what wasn't. It helped us understand that we can't restore the building, and it also helped us understand what the goal should be based on what we're hearing from all of you and everyone who participated. That's going to be a process of advocating to our elected officials for the funding. There will be many, many millions of dollars to do a project of this scale. We think it's important. We will continue to advocate for it. And we wanted to talk today about what we can do between now and when that is funded. In terms of keeping everybody safe, the demolition of the building is needed. But we wanted to talk about options for that. One way we could approach this would be to demolish the building and put new bleachers there, facing out towards the fields, and some new handball courts, all in that area of the existing building. The other option would be that we could put new handball courts up in the north corner. And I can move back to one of the maps if that's helpful, up in that north corner, and then demolish the building. So that would maybe ensure that there's no period without a handball court at the site. So those are two ways that we're looking at the problem, and two ideas that we came up with. But we'd really like to hear from everyone in the meeting about your thoughts and your priorities. And thank you.
Okay, so it's the end.
Yes.
Would you mind, Melissa,
Marlisa.
going back to the map just to show us? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
where you're talking about?
Let me see which is going to be the best one.
Maybe the big map with the original conditions, because that's where it is right now anyway. The geographical map.
Is this? Yeah, this one's probably, I think, the best.
Or the topography looks great.
Yeah.
Is there another one?
So this would be the north corner.
So Broadway's at the top.
Broadway's at the top.
Yes. So
That's where the fountain is for the kids though.
So is that where just so that we're all talking about the same thing here. So is that, wait, I got the floor. Wait a second. I'll try to summarize clarifying questions here. So that area right now, isn't that the spray area for the kids that was just built?
Yes.
It's brand new, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
then what's the other option? That's option A?
we're not coming with a preferred option. We're just trying to share two ideas
Oh,
that
yeah,
we
I
had.
didn't mean A was preferred. A was just.
Oh, okay.
It
Got it.
was option avocado, and then what's the other option?
Option
what was the other
banana
option?
is that we that we would demolish the building first, and that would
Yeah.
allow the handball and bleachers to be in that location, so we wouldn't lose a spray shower, we wouldn't lose anything else. It just would mean that there'd be demolition and construction, a period of time where we wouldn't have the bleachers and the handball there, because we'd be doing the demo and construction. And if the handball is such a priority that we would be willing to get rid of another portion of the park, like the sprinklers, we would need to remove that feature to put the handball there before we demo the building. Does that make sense?
So
I'm
can
trying
I
to kind
ask
of
you-
explain.
So basically, like the difference that would be that we're thinking about the period of time that the handball
Right.
players wouldn't have the handball court, So putting the handball court in the sprinkler session would mean that there will be no period of time where handball players will not have a handball court. Now, putting the handball court, demolishing the building, and then reconstructing the handball courts in that area, there would be a period of time where handball players would not have handball courts in this location. That's basically the difference.
Correct.
Thank
So
you, Kat.
so I'll just say that back to you. So the choices are either tear down the stadium and then there's no handball while you're tearing down the stadium.
Yes.
Or tear down the brand new fountain that was just built for the kids and put the handball court on top of it. So my question is, so that multi-purpose play area, why not just put some handball courts over there for the short term? I mean, the pickleball court could easily be moved. Or not, maybe it doesn't need it. Like that is essentially a parking lot type structure. I mean, it's just a paved area. Could you temporarily relocate the handball courts to another location like that? I'm just throwing that out there. So
That sounds good. It's supposed to be. Keep it.
I mean, is that something? Is there a reason that was ruled out?
No, so that's great, and this is exactly the kind of feedback that's helpful. So we will definitely look at that. Hearing that this is something that is important enough that we wouldn't want to sacrifice it. We can see what putting handball courts here would be. The intention behind this corner, the reason we were thinking of it there, is that in the total master plan that the consultants developed, that's where the handball courts ended up. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, do you have a kind of an idea of where they would ultimately go?
Yeah, they wanted to put them ultimately up here in that north corner. So the idea was like they'll already be there. But we can certainly look at what it would what the implication would be of putting it in the multi-purpose play area instead.
Okay, all right, so I'm gonna go first to the committee for questions. Bob, do you have a question?
Yeah, if you tear down the stadium and then reconstruct the handball, paddleball court, what's the period of time? What are you estimating is the period of time that there would be no handball or paddleball?
That's a good question. I mean, not less than a year, but I think it's unlikely that it would take 2 years, so somewhere between a year and 2. But I would guess for the demolition and construction.
Wait, I have a couple more questions. With regard to the ball field, you said it's not NCAA, doesn't meet NCAA regulations, but Manhattan University has been playing on that field for some time, so I'm surprised to hear that.
I think, Stephanie, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, Bob, I'm sorry. Manhattan College has not played on that field in years.
Okay, I guess I'm years out of date. All right, thanks for that. Okay, and one more question. We've had, as Stephanie well knows, we've had several people from the soccer league come in complaining about the poor condition of the infield of the track, which is where the soccer is played. What happens to the soccer league under these different options? I mean, what happens to the field during that period of time?
So the overall master plan that we're advocating to have funded would redo all of these fields. Everything would be new. The drainage, the field, like all of it.
So Melissa, just to, I want to interrupt real quick. Just maybe Commissioner Ponte is about to say what I'm about to say, which is that it's already funded to do a turf replacement. So where does this already funded turf replacement fall into this master plan? I think that's what Bob is talking about too.
Yeah.
So it's pairing, right? So our repair is going to continue. What will happen is that we would have to schedule and figure out what we need to close off for this demolition and rebuild, depending on the conversations that we're having with the community, right? So we can figure out if we're going to place the handball court in exactly kind of the same place, or look at a different place. I hear MPPA area, I hear, you know, the spray shower area. So it's something that we would have to look at and what's needed to set up, right? What is the safety? What's the area for construction? But the soccer should not be impacted, and we're going to try to minimize the impact to that. But I won't know until I see what that work plan looks like, what that construction plan looks like. So how much space they have to close off for safety purposes and stuff like that. But our hope is not, again, we're working really, really hard. I think we're on day 9 of restoring that turf so we can go into full construction next year. So we're trying our best not to displace any community and any sports and anyone in the park. So we'll work closely with you guys as more evolves. It's too early to say that.
So, Commissioner Ponte, I think we might be talking about 2 different things, because right now is the State of Good Repair project, which we appreciate you, getting going and working with us on making sure to try to get it done before the soccer league starts, the soccer season starts. However, there's another project that's been slated for a while, which is the full turf replacement of the soccer field. So are you, because all of this master plan is not funded, in terms of phasing, are we talking about having, like, do you need to tear down the stadium in order to put the soccer field properly where it goes and re-turf it when you've already got money to re-turf it? You know what I'm saying?
No.
Okay.
So it's 2 separate projects, so that the soccer and track project will proceed, right? What may impact is if we make a decision here, right? And how you're asking how long will it take to take the handball offline, right? And take that service offline. That is what we have to figure out, right? So when does the demolition happen? When does that all happen? But the other project is separate, so they shouldn't impact, the time frame shouldn't impact each other.
When you're talking about the building out of the actual recreation center or whatever, are you imagining that kind of at some point the whole southern end will be under construction for a couple of years? Or are you thinking we'll do the recreation center, assuming once you have funding, we'll do the recreation center first, and then the next thing, and then get funding for the soccer field, and then get funding for the baseball field, etc. You know what I'm saying? Or are you thinking that, like, the whole thing will get done once as one project?
So I have to say that's why we came back with like a phased project. It's a very expensive project. So it's a lot of money, right? So when you're talking about rebuilding a building, so it would have to depend. So if we get very lucky and someone gives us the full amount of the entire project to do the membership based or non-membership, right? Like, we can move forward with the building, and that funding includes the repurposing of the fields and everything that Marlisa was kind of explaining through the master plan. Then what we would do is work on what's the best way, what's the least impactful, right? What's the biggest part of the project, and phase them out and work with the community. So yes, there will be things offline for some time, but in all good faith to just get everything back together. So we won't know that until we know how much money we have on hand, and how we can proceed with the projects.
And do you have a cost estimate for the non-membership and the membership?
Marlisa, do we have that available? Approximate?
We do not have that available. We can check back and give an update. We can follow up and give that update to the community board.
Yeah, so Mary?
Yeah, I have a question. So you just described the stadium area as being like in horrific condition, like really like dangerous, horrific condition. And then you described this master plan that costs a lot of money. What are the options if the master plan doesn't happen? Like, what's the plan? If this is a very dangerous building, we had to put up netting to keep people safe when they're playing sports. There are animals living there. There's water down. I mean, it just really sounded horrible. As you were going, like, every slide got worse. And so the question is, like, what what's the plan there, right? Like, as we're waiting to keep people safe and to keep the community safe and like.
Well, and to allow handball to continue,
And,
right?
yeah, I know, but I'm just
Yeah.
like also, just like
Both.
broadly,
Picture.
like, this is not against handball, this is just more of a community question.
Right.
And
So I think that's why we're trying to talk about what we can do in light of everything you just said, right? I think we see it as a priority to remove this potential safety issue for the public by demoing the building. But we're trying to balance that with how heavily used and important the handball is. And so right now we have a licensed engineer who goes out, they do a full evaluation, right? We got all of that through this, and that's when we found we needed to do the netting. That will have to be done every year to identify any deterioration as long as the building stands. We'll have to keep doing maintenance and putting money into it. What would be the better approach is to demo it as soon as we're able, so that we don't have these conditions continue and worsen.
Do you have the money to do that? Yeah, do you have the money to demo
These two options, we do not have to advocate and wait for electeds to fund. So that's why we're seeing these as the like near-term solutions while advocating for the long-term goal.
Okay. So then in theory, it's possible that if you have construction money to build a new handball court on top of the sprinklers, you might also have money to build a new handball court over in the multi-purpose play area instead. Like that's not necessarily a blocker.
Right, it just wouldn't line up with the overall master plan.
Right. Or it might, maybe there'll be.
Or it might.
Or it might, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna open, oh, you have
Can I
one last
ask one
question?
more
Yeah.
question? So if we were to go with one of these two options, what is the timeline with that? So you were talking about how you had somebody come out and do a survey and they decided that they needed to put nets up, right? When is the next time, like when was that last done? And when would be the next time that would need to happen? And where does where do these two options fall within that timeline?
So the evaluation was last done close to a year ago. So we'll need to go out again shortly. And if any further issues are identified, we may need to add more netting. I think in a worst case scenario, we would have to, close areas around the building. Or close the handball courts. So that's why we wanted to bring this and put it all in front of you guys to hear, whether the priority is kind of continuity of handball, in which case we leave the building standing, keep monitoring it, keep doing any additional work that's needed for the handball to be used safely, knowing we might have to close them as it stands and continues to deteriorate, while we build handball courts elsewhere, a sprinkler area, multi-purpose area, or do we demo it first and put the handball and bleachers back in that location?
Okay, so any other questions from the committee? Okay, now I'm gonna open it up to questions from the general public. I'm gonna start in the room, so I don't see any hands up. There you go. Yes.
Yeah, hi. My name is John. There's also a third option. There's a grassy area right behind the paddleball courts that is just full of grass. And there's an area of benches between that and the grassy area that goes right out to the street. Wouldn't that be a place we could put temporary handball courts and still give enough space for them to demolish the building? In other words, it would be almost at the same location. If you look on the map there, the grassy area where we have the picnics and get up. What do you guys think? You could put maybe a handball wall up there and build a handball court there. And is that enough distance for the demolition of the rest of the thing?
Can I?
In other words, we'd be in the same
Are you
location.
thinking about the barbecue area, like where people
Yeah.
like gather and?
Yeah,
That's not
yeah.
enough court.
Yeah, but it's also a barbecue area.
It's also
And it's a wetland.
for community to get
Yeah.
there, so I think that, like, especially in the spring.
It's not good.
There's got large trees there.
Yeah, there's like
Yeah,
trees.
yeah.
A lot of trees.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that, yeah.
Yeah. Right,
And
next
then-
hands,
at the second-
are you done with the?
No, it's a second question.
Yeah.
Is there gonna be a bathroom at the play area? Cause we need bathrooms if we, if they relocate the temporary one to the play area, like they were saying. Is there a bathroom near there? Can we get a temporary bathroom there?
So, Marlissa or Stephanie, you wanna talk to, restrooms in near the existing there are
Temporary.
restrooms now, like a little porta potties currently over in that area, yeah?
Yeah, they'll probably transfer the ones out of there now, which are.
She can answer, one sec.
Yeah, so.
So Marlissa, would there be restrooms near either, wherever the handball courts would be moved, would the restrooms be moved with them?
Or
The temporary restrooms,
Yeah,
yes, those can move, absolutely.
Yeah, the one that's there now.
okay, next, I don't know your name, but you can go, yeah.
I wanted to say that something that I feel very seriously about is that we don't want it, in the ultimate reconstruction of animal codes, we don't want a reduction of the number. Presently, they're 9, and especially in the warm weather, they're swamped, they're highly used. So whatever the future, we would, now, I wanted to say, and what a unique feature, I appreciate your interest in the stark atmosphere in the park setting and the greenness and we have a unique layout of our handball courts. They're linear. And it contributes to the sense of cohesiveness and a sense of communityness of it. In some places, they have handball courts on opposite sides of the walls and the people don't interact. We have this linearness. I think we should preserve that. I think we should pencil in the existing location so that because the linearness lets us be a family. Somebody's playing here, everybody sees who's playing, what level they're playing, who's playing next. It's interactive. When they're on opposite sides of the wall, it isolates them. So I think we should pencil in the existing location and accept, perhaps, I think if we went over into the multi-use area for temporary handball courts and keep where we are now, because has been there for 75 years or 90 years since Robert Moses. And it's made our community very strong. If you go around a lot of New York City handball courts, they have 4 on one side or 4 on another. It's not there, so.
So, Marlissa, he brings up a good point about the number of handball / paddleball courts. How many are you imagining in this plan and how many are part of either of these options?
We have not done a layout or design for either. We wanted to get a sense of the community priorities. So hearing things like the linearness is important, or we don't want to lose anything, that is going to help us make the next step and say, like, here's what we can do. Here's what we heard from everyone at this meeting. Here's the approach that we can take based on all of that.
Anybody else?
Just wanted to say
One last thing.
Oh, yeah. I don't think we should displace this fountains. They're very successful. People enjoy it. Also, it puts us closer to the traffic and noise of the subway and of Broadway. Where we are now, we're farther enough. So for the temporary, I would say, put it in that multi-use area versus breaking up the fountains.
Next.
The only question I have.
Oh, wait,
one
one,
question I have
yeah.
is pertaining to the net, the next inspection. Is it possible to have the net raised up just about a foot higher if it's not dangerous to the players?
To add to that real quick, handball, paddleball courts need at least 14 feet to be playable.
Exactly.
Right.
So if that can be done safely during that time, no, it's 14 is minimum.
No, 16 is the.
Okay, well, if
So,
you can get 16,
16 by 20.
because right now it's lower than that.
Marlissa or Stephanie or Kat, can you speak to the
Correct me
current netting? Because the netting definitely goes into the playing area.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Melissa, but this is the way that the netting is now is as much as we can give of the handball courts safely, correct?
That's correct.
We can't, we can't raise it. We wish we could, but unfortunately we can't, and we don't want to close down the handball courts for you guys. We want to make it.
Is it
safe and we
possible
wanna
to
make-
raise it in sections, Kat?
At a less effect.
So that there are at least a few handball courts / paddleball courts that are, that are not impacted?
I don't think so, right, Marlissa?
No, we're not able to. When the engineers analyze the whole facade and where the cracks and falls were, it's so distributed and so like constant across the facade that we can't have sections that are open and have like a net here but not on this court, a net here. It really, the whole thing has to be netted. And we know how frustrating this is.
All right, your turn.
Mike Melendez. So option B, right? What will be the timeline for option B? Because the way what the courts are with the net right now, they're not even, people go play, but they're not really playable. We host, I'm the president of the Paddle Family Alliance, and we host a lot of youth clinic there. The Manhattan College, we do workshop with them. And you can't really have any tournament or anything because that net it interfere with the size of the court. So my question is, option B, is there any timeline at this point where they were to do option B?
Like how long would it take
Yeah.
to build, how long does it take to build a handball / paddleball court?
Yeah.
Is that a year or two?
About a year and a half. Yeah.
You need to go through full procurement as well. So are we
Yes.
talking about 14 to 16 months plus 14 to 16 months plus 14 to 16? So design, procurement and construction?
That's
So
correct.
this is essentially a 3 to 5 year project. It would be about 5 years until you would see a new handball court, even in the multi-use play area that's already got asphalt.
Yes.
And Deb, again, that's the process, right? But we'll definitely take this back, and the more we hear from the community, and we set a place, right, where this new court may be set, and it fits, right? We have to make sure these 9 courts fit, everything's measured, the conditions of the current lay of the land works for this facility, right? It can support it, and then we can try to have conversations on what that looks like. I don't want to say expedite it, right? But we hear the community and we know that there's importance in both. So we definitely want to, move this along sooner than later.
Right. A follow-up question.
One last question. So the existing court will remain while they're doing construction of the.
So I think probably to summarize what she's saying is the existing court is in a deteriorating condition.
Right.
Gets inspected annually. There's going to be a risk that they may have to close the courts at some point. So we want them to be expeditious and get on this quickly. The normal capital project cycle is 14 to 16, really it's like 14 to 24 months for design, 14 to 24 months for procurement, and then 14, 24 months for construction. That's like their normal thing. What the Commissioner Ponte is saying is that maybe they can, if it's, maybe they can simplify it, maybe they can expedite it, maybe they can try to get something built. But even then, maybe we could just be talking about 3 years from now as opposed to 6 years from now.
That's
So there
exactly-
may be a period where we're between two pieces here, where it's clearly too far gone here and we don't have a new replacement there.
And there's funding for option B.
According to Marlissa, the suggestion we gave about the multi-purpose playroom, they don't know, they have to look into that. But there's funding for these two options.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
The thing I'm still not clear on, and maybe, I don't know, it's just I'm not understanding, is how quickly does this building need to come down? Like,
Yeah.
what is the urge behind it? Cause we're talking about making temporary handball courts that may take 5 years to actually, 3 to 5, whatever it is, to actually be put up, right? Do we have that time on this building? Cause it didn't sound that way through the presentation. It sounded a lot more urgent. And so I'm not understanding that.
Well, and Melissa, perhaps that also answers part of our question here, is that if it would take 4 years, say, or 3 years to even get to a new handball court, but you have funding right now to demolish the existing existing stadium, that if you expedited that in the name of safety, while also starting procurement, while you're already starting the design of the handball court, then at least we get a new handball court sooner. But it seems like there's gonna be a gap in any case, really, because there's not gonna be a new handball court for many years now. Right?
Can I piggyback on what you?
Oh, wait a second, let me hear what Marlis has to say.
Yeah.
Sure. So I think what you're pointing out is that there is a time before there's a new handball court in either option. That is correct. In option B, we kind of extend the life of the existing handball courts on the stadium building for as long as possible. And if we can stay basically as we are with the amount of netting that we have, those would be in use in that condition during the years until there's a new handball court elsewhere. But we can't know how fast the deterioration is going to go. And I think that was the question earlier, like, is it going to be too dangerous to use in a year, 4 years, 8 years? We don't know. And that's why we have to keep doing these inspections so we can monitor if the deterioration is getting worse and we need to do more to protect people.
Did you have a question?
Yes, my name's Andre Lapierre and I'm associated with Mike and Kathy. How long would it take to demolish the stadium? The reason why I ask is because if that is a short-term, usually demolition is a short-term thing. There's technology that allows for placing temporary walls, okay? And that technology has advanced so that the temporary walls look like permanent walls, but we know they're temporary. So that can be a short-term fix until the parks determines what the disposition of that area is going to be. The second thing is, all isn't lost because I'm an optimist. All nine courts aren't part of the stadium. There are, I think, 3 or 4 other courts to the right of the stadium that can be rejuvenated so that there will still be handball, paddleball to play. So I just want to throw all that information out there so that you guys have all the tools and all the information to use to make some really informed decisions. The technology, and then the 9 courts. There are actually 17 courts at Van Cortlandt. Yeah, the other one. And I understand that there were 2 handball paddle courts that were repurposed for pickleball. That's fine. We understand that we can't save all the paddle courts. It would be great if we can, and I think the master plan takes that into consideration. But now we've got some other issues. So that's what I think.
One question for you. When you're saying that there are 3 courts to the right of the stadium, don't they have netting on them too?
No.
They
do not. I saw the train. I thought I just came off the train. And I thought, okay, if they do.
That's part of the stadium.
Oh, so wait. So it might be unnecessary netting.
No.
It's part of the
It's part of the stadium.
part of the stadium.
Well, but wait, they're not attached.
It's part of the stadium.
Okay, so but point of order. Wait a second.
I think this is a
wait. Okay, yeah, thank you. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think I'm not being clear with my perspective. And so I just want to
So I think what your perspective is that they've described a deteriorating stadium that has rebar that is exposed, rats that have been eating asbestos for 2 generations or more, and that there's constant rain, and that they've got netting that they have just to keep the debris from injuring people. So why don't we just tear this down immediately? Is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm being clear, and it like that because we keep coming back to the handball courts, and I think that's important. But I really want, yeah, that's it. So if I'm being clear, I just want to
Yeah, I
make
think
sure.
that, I think that's
You are
noted.
being clear, and yes, it needs to come down. And I think the way that Commissioner Ponte opened it with, it's not if, it's when. Yes, it should come down as soon as possible. However,
yeah, you and then I'll do Jasmine on the phone.
And then I also have one.
The area to the north
You're gonna say.
probably not more than 2 or 3 quarters. I mean, from looking at that space, Paul was saying, you have so many courts across. It's a temporary measure is just, it's a Band-Aid, but it's not really a temporary replacement for what we have. It's just something to put up. You make it 1 court in there. I mean, I don't see it more than a few. The other thing is that, you know, the demolition, if it was done seasonally, it could be to the player's advantage. Less used in the winter, you know, demolition can be done any time of year. Construction is weather dependent. The other question I had is that, and I don't know for sure, is the wall there integral part of the concrete structure, or is there an expansion joint in the back of the wall where the stadium could be demolished without taking down the wall?
They are not separate. We would not be able to demolish the stadium building, bleachers, and leave the wall standing. It is integral, and it is deteriorating as rapidly as the rest of the building.
And Kat, did you want to add something? I unmuted you.
I just wanted to add, Deb, you know, respectfully, the conversation is going great, and we appreciate all of the feedback that the community is giving us and the community board, but we really only have a few more minutes left. So yeah.
Okay. Yep, I appreciate that. Jasmine, do you want to give us a short summary of your question?
Yes, I just wanted to say that there's throughout the city, there's various parks where there's much conflict between pickleball and handball and paddleball. So when they eventually rebuild these courts, will there be signs posted that say handball, paddleball, wall ball sports have priority? I believe Chelsea has that. Or will there be a sign that says there's like no pickleball allowed? Because there's a lot of conflict in the various parks about that.
Stephanie, do you want to speak to that, or Marlissa? Kind of an operations piece.
Yeah, that's not really my wheelhouse. I don't know, Kat, Stephanie.
I'll jump. Is Stephanie on? I can just jump in, Jasmine.
Yes, Commissioner.
We can take that information back and kind of figure that out. In the Bronx, we haven't had so much conflict. It's in, you know, adjacent boroughs. People have actually been very happy with a couple of pickleballs that we do have, even though they're, you know, and planning, and they have like a little sign-in board. They do it themselves, and much like the handball players were explaining, that they have like a family and a cohesion and an understanding. But we will take that back as we are rethinking this space to see what will work here.
Okay, great. And then you had your hand up.
Yeah. My question is, they locked the gates in Van Cortlandt, the park. They locked them, so when you go and you play, your ball goes over the wall. How do you retrieve your ball?
You don't.
Oh, you mean to getting into the stadium?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah.
Not all.
Yeah.
All the way around.
I can say, just as Parks Chair, that we have seen many pictures of children playing in this construction area, which is why they've been doing that, is to try to keep them out. I don't know if the commissioner or Stephanie, if you want to speak to why it's been locked, but I'm certain that's one of the reasons, is just to make sure the kids stay out of the construction area while they replace the turf.
That is Deb. That's exactly why.
Yeah.
trying to keep everyone
Yeah, I mean,
safe
it
while
sucks, but
still,
it's
you
really
know.
just trying to keep everyone safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you, and I'm sorry with you've already spoken, as I was saying at the beginning, the Parks Committee or Parks Department has to get off the line, and so we're kind of having to wrap up. And so, did you have a question, Michelle?
I do, and it's actually not handball related, but it'll be real short. I'm wondering, is this, does this affect the skate park at all?
Good question.
No.
No.
No, it doesn't. Okay, that's my only question.
So then, so one last question then. So once you have a plan, will you be able to come back to the committee? And when do you plan on having a plan, honestly? Is this something where you expect that you'll know what you're doing next regarding the actual demolition, regarding the handball courts by June or by September?
Deb, we're hoping to hear from you all, right? We're hoping to get something from you. I know there was a lot that came out of this meeting, so I don't know if you can help craft up some type of letter from the community, kind of expressing thought. Because we want to see how we're trying to plan around the need of the community, right? We hear this is a very, handball is very important. Safety is paramount to us. We want to make sure that we're making safe decisions here.
Okay. So then I'll take it back for a second to say that I think that what I'm hearing as the main points are that we care about the safety of the stadium. We want to make sure that nobody's in any harm. We want to make sure that there are 9 courts with a preference that they are in a line. We want to make sure that that there's continuous play.
Right. To the extent possible.
To the extent possible.
That should be.
And that generally that there was really no support for putting handball courts on top of the spray area. That we would rather have the handball courts in a place like the multi-purpose play area where there's existing. We don't have existing new benches and where the kids are playing. Okay. Yeah. Anything else I'm forgetting?
Bathroom
from the committee? Oh, and moving the porta potties.
Yeah, you know, it's captured as handball, it's
Handball,
racquetball.
Well, what?
It's also racquetball and paddleball, but not just handball.
Oh, I thought we said racquetball / handball / paddleball, but also racquetball.
All sports.
Okay, so I think they said that we'll send a letter with that summary to you guys, just so you've got it. All right, and I want to thank Commissioner Aponte and Kat and Marlissa. Thank you all for bringing this to us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And that thus concludes our discussion of the stadium study. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Just a reminder to everybody here.
Guys.
Hold on a second. Just a reminder to everybody here, you can always send an email to the board office. If there was something that you wanted to say and didn't, if there's something you think of after you leave the meeting, you can email the board office. If you have the agenda, you'll find the email on there. Okay?
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
you can please continue to contact us. That would be nice.
Yeah. And if this will be on YouTube tomorrow. So if you want to watch any parts of it, you're welcome to watch any parts of it. And then the BX where it says EBX08@cb.nyc.gov. That's our email address.
And guys, I don't know why we need.
So I'm just gonna, guys, so we're in the middle of the meeting, so now I'm gonna continue on to the next agenda. I have lots more on it. So
Thank you
all.
Thank you. And you also have to put in Bronx Community Board A and Parks Committee. Let's go on. And you go on YouTube.
Well, so please send an email with that comment. We will. Because they're very rich.
Just want to say you did a very great job. Thank you so much.
You can have it any way you want.
Oh, you can.
You just don't turn to open up YouTube. And then you look for Bronx Community Board A. Parks. And you'll keep painting. But wait till after.
Kathy,
So next I got.
Oh, okay.
All right, everybody. I've got to move on the committee. Oh, yeah, it's great to leave. It's fine. Great.
That's why.
Thank you.
We do cleaning sessions.
Thank you.
Your cell, is that the best? Your cell is best?
Thank
All
you.
right, you guys just move out of the room. Yeah, just go ahead. All right, I think I've got Ray. All right, next up is, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got Ray.
Yes, I'm communicating with
Okay,
you.
so, next up, thank you, is a request for a street activity permit. And don't forget that, for the James Baldwin Outdoor Learning Center Community Farmers Market from June 20th till October 31st. Thank you. So this is a full sidewalk closure. In the James Baldwin Plaza, this is where the farmers market happens. It's been happening since 2021, correct, Ray?
2020, August of
Does anybody
2020.
have any, does anybody have any questions?
No.
Good night, everybody. You can, Bob, can you come back here, because we need to vote. Oh, just close the door.
This is the presentation I saw last time.
What?
That we talked about last.
This is a different one.
Oh, but it's the same area.
So this is the same area as the GAFO where they gave out the trees. So James Baldwin Outdoor Learning Center, they have a farmer's market that happens in this plaza. And it starts on June 20th. It's every Saturday. And it goes until Halloween. So they've got events for kids. They've got Ray, do you wanna talk about what everything is you do on this farmer's market? It's very much loved in the community. It sounds beautiful.
Sure. Yes. Welcome hi everybody.
Thank you for your patience, Ray. Appreciate it.
Understandable. So actually, we did start August of 2020 during COVID. This will be our 7th season, and we organize the market weekly. Now we're again on the James Baldwin Plaza, which makes it a lot more amenable to more vendors and nice environment. We're also, as you know, adjacent to Meg's Garden and Edible Forest, and we're building out a sensory garden there this year, as well as a garden of cultural heritage. So it's a great community gathering. Very not very commercial. We have farmers selling, obviously fresh produce since that time, and a lot of local vendors, community members who, for instance, sell crocheted items. And we have one of my former students from DeWitt Clinton has a juice company, is very popular. So, we really focus on very local community vendors. And we celebrate many holidays, starting with Juneteenth on June 20th, but also Pride, James Baldwin's birthday, among so many other, kind of weekly events. We do a lot of programming around the environment, gardening, the arts. We often have music, dancing, Zumba class, and all kinds of things. We really cater to, families and elders at the Amalgamated, which is right across the street. And as you know, we're a 501c3. We're not, driven by profit motives. We just really enjoy creating an opportunity for the community to gather. So,
all right.
Yep.
Yeah. Is there anybody have any questions?
No, sounds good.
Oh yeah. So I think I'm going to make a resolution to approve this SAPO. Any objections?
No.
No.
All right. So unanimously approved.
All right.
You're all set, Ray. I
Thanks
assume
so
you
much.
wouldn't mind me interrupting you for that. So thank you so
No.
much for joining us this evening. I hope you had an opportunity to learn a lot about.
I
Van
sure
Cortlandt Park.
did. And, I know Van Cortlandt Park very well. So, I appreciated the discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, no, totally. Thank you. Good to see you as always.
Yep.
Thank you again for the farmer's market. It's wonderful.
Okay. Good night.
Good night. Next up is a request for a street activity permit for a concert in the Parks New York Philharmonic at Van Cortlandt Park. That's on June 9th. So the New York Philharmonic has made a request to close the curb lane on the Van Cortlandt Park side of Broadway between the 6159 Broadway and 6015 Broadway. This would be, I think we calculated 68 parking spaces.
So that was my calculation. It could be off by a small number, but that's approximately what we're talking about.
And it would go from, where's my map? They gave us, we have a good map.
It would be just to the south of West 251st Street.
Right.
And it would go all the way down to Manhattan College Parkway. But the southernmost part, below the entrance into the park, is, as I understand it, is for ADA vehicles.
Right.
The Philharmonic musicians would be parking from the park entrance north up to just below 251st.
Okay. One thing I wanted to call out, I asked them about the SAPO says that the slots will be released on the next morning at 10 o'clock in the morning, and they I heard back from them, then they said that was a mistake. So that was just a typo. Beth Hall is here today representing the New York Philharmonic, so she's here for any questions we might have. Beth, is there anything else you wanted to add to the characterization of the request?
No, that pretty much sums it up. And yeah, speaking to the timing, we'd be looking to release by about 9 p.m. on that Tuesday. My understanding is that the 10 a.m. on the permit application just came, it was like a pre-pulled timeline from when we submitted our overall permit for the event. So 9 p.m. is the more realistic time, and if we can release anything earlier, because we don't have as many musicians coming to park, we're happy to release as we go throughout that evening. But 9 o'clock is the more realistic time.
So the musicians, are these musicians who live nearby? Like, why don't they take the bus with the rest of the musicians?
Because they're special musicians. We do offer buses to everybody, but there are musicians who either live closer or they feel more comfortable transporting their instrument on their own. So we do like to keep it as an option to them, but we do encourage everybody to use the buses as much as possible.
About how many, these, do you agree that it's about 68 spaces?
Yeah, we were approximating between 60 to 70.
Okay. And then, so what percentage of musicians is that?
Typically we have just under 100 musicians, so it's about half that we guesstimate might. And then, as was mentioned earlier, we do like to hold spaces for ADA as well. So it's maybe, 40 to 50 musician spaces, a few extras for crew members, and then ADA.
Okay. Could I ask a question?
Yeah.
You said you would be releasing the spaces, the unused spaces at 9 p.m. the night of the concert. But these spaces, as I understand it, are for the musicians. They're going to be there long before 8 p.m. when the concert starts. So why wait till 9 p.m. to release the unused spaces?
We can try to release earlier if we have the manpower and the ability to. We're happy to do that. So if, by 7:45, 7:30-ish, there are open spaces and it seems all of our musicians are on site, we're happy to release earlier.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine musicians showing up after 8 o'clock, so.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, one hopes. And somewhere I thought I saw something about angle parking, but that's not going to happen, is it?
So they do park at an angle to make sure that the bike lane is still accessible and to make sure that we're not impeding too much traffic to allow for traffic flow. So it is an angled parking.
Well, I thought it's going to have the opposite effect. if you have angle parking. I mean, if they're parked parallel to the bike lane, which is how the parking exists right now, it doesn't interfere with the bike lane. There are only a limited number of places where you can actually get into the bike lane, such as at 251st Street. But if you angle, you're going to impede the one of the lanes. You're going to impede the lane closest to the parking lane on Broadway.
Right.
I don't see how you could avoid that.
If I may, Bob,
Right.
they've been doing the angle parking now for at least 2, maybe 3 years, and it's actually it's been really successful. And what that allows them to do is it actually means that they can squeeze more cars in, and they avoid the bike lane. It does come out like a little bit more than parallel parking does, but at the end of the day, it just means that there's more spaces for parking cars, and it has not, from what I can tell, because I'm out there a lot, it has not been an impediment. So I think that it's actually a really good idea. I was dubious too. I was really not thinking that it was going to be, but it is.
All right. Well, you're the expert, Stephanie, and if it has worked for the last couple of years, and if you're comfortable with it, then I should be comfortable with it too.
One thing I wanted
Thanks,
to
Bob.
raise was that was that we got a letter from New York Philharmonic just providing some context for overall the SAPO request, and one of the things that you guys have been doing this concert in the park for a long time. Last year was the very first year you came to us for a SAPO application, and we approved it. But then I understand that it wasn't approved later by the mayor's office of citywide enforcement. I had to go look up to see who actually approves SAPOs. So after some conversation with the board office, it seems that, and kind of looking into this and talking to the SAPO office, what we learned was that really there was just nobody, that the mayor's office of citywide enforcement was reaching out via the portal, and that they did not get the 501c3 certificate from the New York Philharmonic that would have allowed them to approve the SAPO application. And so then the 50th Precinct and New York Philharmonic ended up working together outside of the SAPO process, even though it had been rejected, and pulling the parking anyway. Which, I mean, maybe I'm just a process girl, but I feel like that's not the way to do it, A. And then B, you avoided paying the fee. There's a $600 fee for the parking, for pulling the parking. So I guess this is all just a way of saying that I lean towards approving the SAPO application. I don't have trouble with it, but I do want to just call out that when you submit your SAPO application with the mayor's citywide enforcement, go back and make sure to check messages and stuff and follow up if you get email, and make sure they have the accurate email for you, so that when they're getting the communication, they're communicating with you, that you are getting their 501c and everything back to them. So that way the SAPO gets approved. So
Perfect.
then you'll be all set. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. Unfortunately, I wasn't here last year, so I don't have the knowledge of
I'm
why
not
that
blaming
happened.
you.
Yeah, no, but very, very good to note that that's where things fell through the cracks, because I don't think anybody on our side knew why it got rejected. So it's great to know that, so that we can keep an eye on it and make sure we are following proper protocols and doing everything we need to do.
Yeah, because it could be that you just got an old email address or something, but just
Sure.
make sure to go
Yeah.
if it if you're, because I'm sure it's probably the case that once it's rejected, it's very hard to get it unrejected.
Sure.
But once you haven't submitted the form within X number of days, so
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for
If I
that.
can offer a personal opinion, there's no reason why the Philharmonic should be paying a cent for what they're doing. It's a gift to the community that the Philharmonic is coming to Van Cortlandt. You go every year. I go every year. It's a benefit to the community. I don't think you guys should be paying anything, frankly. But I don't get a vote with the mayor's office or anybody else outside of this room. So, but I'm grateful to have the Philharmonic in Van Cortlandt every year. I look forward to it every year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, the Philharmonic is well loved up here for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm more worried about like what happens when the SAPO process allows us a lot of transparency to actually talk through some of the details, particularly
Right.
at new events, right? For the James Baldwin Outdoor Learning Center Farmers Market, we do it every year. It's not a
Right.
big deal, but there's certainly new things. Sometimes it's good to have that kind of conversation and vetting.
Yeah.
And so I would hate to have it become considered voluntary.
Yeah,
Because
no, I agree.
then
I
all
mean,
nobody's lose.
it's good to come to the community, and you know, when we lose 60 or more parking spaces, people in the community always get upset, no matter how worthy the cause, and this is as worthy a cause as I can think of, to lose 60 spaces for, you know, what comes to less than a full day.
Yeah.
But yes, we do appreciate you coming before us.
Yeah.
Thank you for all of that. We appreciate it.
So I make a motion to approve the resolution to approve SAPO.
Absolutely.
Yep. And then, all right, so that has been approved. So you're all set, Beth.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys so much. Look forward to seeing you at the concert.
Yeah, we'll see you out there.
See you then.
Right, so old business. The most obvious old business is just simply the Parks Resource Guide. I needed to do a paragraph about the concessions and just clean up the concessions part.
Okay.
I think everything else was in pretty good shape though, yeah?
I think so.
Yeah, I'll take it. I meant to get another set of eyes on it.
Okay.
I can send, I have to send out these resolutions, so I can send out just a link to the current edition, because I that's I think I know which one it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
go through it.
I'm sorry, I forgot about I thought we had done that. I forgot. Yeah.
There were just little odds and ends to
Right,
finish, and then I think the end of April was when Farah asked us to have it done by,
Okay.
so that she can figure out.
Well,
print
if there's anything you need, just email us and dot the i's and cross the t's.
Like literally.
I have a question about older business.
Pickleball court.
Oh,
I don't have Joe Magnier anymore.
Jeb,
Just
I
one
have a
sec, just one
question
sec. Wait,
about the
what?
Parks Resource Guide.
Oh, what's your question about the Parks Resource Guide?
Is it possible to include just a sentence that says to contact the community board to learn about any volunteer groups that help take care of the park? You know, rather, I wouldn't ask you to put contact info because groups don't last forever, except maybe mine. But as a resource guide, that might be something helpful to put down, that people can volunteer and to contact the community board to connect with local groups.
We have a section on volunteering. We did put kind of the most generic contact information for the groups. But we could also include, like, if you want more information, contact the board or something like that in case something does bounce back. That's a good call out.
A good suggestion. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, totally. Thank you, Jody.
We're all done with the budget requests.
We're all done with the budget requests.
Okay.
And I don't have Joe, we have no
yeah.
update. And then one last thing, Seton Park tennis courts, just to provide an update on that, because Lou had reached out about it. He was asking about how many tennis courts, how many pickleball courts. It seems as though that's all still in flux because it's not fully funded. So that'll be determined in the design phase.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I was wondering what's happening with the letter to the mayor. Did it get sent out? Did we send the letter? What happened with the budget? With
The 1% of parks?
Right, so I'm wondering, like, did we?
Yes.
We sent something in.
The 1% for park letter went out.
Okay.
The Shindig support letter went out. And
we did
the Bailey playground letter went out. We have to still do the Bruckner box letter.
Okay.
And I need to do the feedback letter for the Moshaloom golf course RFP.
Okay.
You're
If
gonna be
you
busy.
need help with drafting anything, that's all, I mean.
That's what AI is for.
I'm always happy to help you draft. When do we hear back? Will we hear back from the mayor's office or will we just not?
No, I don't think we'll hear back on those.
This has almost become a standard process.
Yeah.
We've asked for 1%
I just.
under Adams.
Yeah.
This has been going on for several years. Yeah.
I can
Since
understand what the
2001.
final version of the letters.
Yeah, it's just
Since
like
2001, Deb, 1% for Parks campaign.
Right.
And what was it under Adams? What do we have?
It's I think
Well-
it's roughly 1/2 of 1%, approximately. Might be a tiny bit more, but
Yeah.
I think we're way
That's
below.
the same current?
You wanted to reduce it a little bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's awful.
Do you want me to send a copy of the letters to you guys?
I feel like I may have seen the
You-
final
yeah,
draft,
yeah,
but I'm just
everybody's-
curious if it.
Yeah, everything got out.
Right.
Yeah.
If you actually went to the mailbox.
Farah and Artie went to the mailbox. And then one thing I wanted to, just under new business, was I would like to make just a list of, the state of good repair projects. I feel like there's a bunch of them, and just to have it, and kind of, so we don't lose them. And the one is the Bruckner box that Jody's always reminding us of. One is washout along Palisade Avenue, near where the pump station is. They did a bunch of repair, or they landscaped it, and then now it's over a foot of washout along the side of Palisade. The court lining nets and the tree pruning at Riverdale Playground Pickleball Court, and then the repair to the entry gates at Seton Park Dog Run. So all this kind of little stuff. I know Farah is very good at following up with parks, but also Joe's unable to get to all of it. Some of it's a little bit beyond what he can just do simply, and that we need to advocate with the Arsenal to get sometimes some of these state of good repair projects.
Yeah.
Where are you keeping this list? In your notes, or is there a doc that?
Well, I thought if we had a list and then I could give it to Artie or Farah.
Right, but are we making like a shared doc that we can, I'm trying to help you. Can I help you? Like stay organized, I don't know. Like I just like you're on top of it or whatever. Or you could just.
So we want to put it on the
We could put
Parks
it
and Resource page on Parks.
on the
homepage.
Parks homepage, that
Yeah.
place that way people can see it.
Yeah, like, okay.
I mean, it'll sit there for years potentially, so that might be.
That's all right.
And then by the time it, gets taken off, I'll have handball courts.
Where did we end up with the Seton Park Dog Run? Is there a group now?
There is, there does seem to be a group of people. Well, there's one person in particular who's working with Joe and working with Robert Madera. So Robert, who's with Partnership for Parks,
Okay.
has met with several of the major stakeholders. And Angel has been working with Robert to get some wood chips there. And then they've been kind of advocating to try to get the gates fixed and reminding Joe that the gates need to be fixed.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great if they had some kind of event to get the wood chips spread, and then Robert's encouraging them to do that, and encouraging them to maybe get a grant or something for an event.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of early work to do to get it to feel like a group to them. I'm not sure entirely it feels like a group to them yet.
I'm just remembering that when there was a group there in the past, they put up a flyer at the Spike and Dival Library, which is right on the corner there of the park, encouraging people to sign up. And I think it had some effect, as I recall.
Okay.
So that might be worth passing along to Angel or somebody else.
I think they just found the guy who used to be the leader of that dog run group
back then.
Yeah. Mr. Barrow, I believe his name is, something like that.
I don't know.
But yeah, they just reconnected with somebody who used to be. Remember when I was asking you who was the guy?
Right.
Well, they found that guy.
Good.
Are they still considering bringing water over?
They have some kind of little like a cooler that they're using to fill the doggy drinking bowl. But that the drinking fountain itself is pretty far from the dog run, and so they wanted some kind of hose or some kind of connection.
Right.
you know, if, I've said it, but we'll have to keep saying it, is that if they actually do get a proper dog run, a capital project dog run, it will probably, we might likely be much smaller than the dog run they have now. So this is definitely a project where you proceed at your own peril a little bit. But that you could, like getting something like a dog, a connection, a hose connection, you know, that might be something you could actually get. So, all right. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yeah.
Look at all these people who stayed on.
I know.
Van Cortlandt.
Really?
Van Cortlandt stayed on. all
Stephanie,
night.
yeah.
Stephanie stayed on. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
We're not going
meeting is
anywhere.
adjourned.
Good night, Karen.
Good night. Thank you, Karen, for joining. And good night,
Good night,
all.
Good night, everybody. Good night, Julie.
Good night, Julie.